great gloominess down upon me. I remember walking to school with my head down the whole way, and I was surely on the quiet side. Even though I didn't have my parents to lean on 24/7, I always knew I had my siblings. We were there for each other through the ups and downs of our lives. I always believed in a happy ever after. I guess I just didn't see the truth between a reality and a fantasy. I got married when I was quite young. Charles was approaching his 30s, and the pressure on him to get married was quite critical. I met him at a polo game through my sister Sarah, and then that later led on to going on a sailing trip with him, and then from that we went on to a Scottish wedding, and I met the royal family. The royal family was not what I expected them to be. His mother, Queen Elizabeth, was not quite fond of me for a reason which I may never know why. Perhaps I was too young or too modern. Anyways, I tried not to be changed by the ways of the royals. But every day, rumours out in the newspapers, I acted negatively upon them. Everything went by so fast, and it seemed as if in a blink of an eye, it was already the wedding day. The wedding day was splendid. Millions of citizens and pupils all over the world tuned in to watch the grand ceremony. It was enormous, and so was my dress, I must say. That was possibly the most uncomfortable piece of attire I've ever worn. But I would never tell a royal that. No, never. That day, the wedding day, starting my path to the downfall, mentally and physically. I wish I could have coped. I wish I was stronger. I suffered from bulimia and was hungry from an anorexic heart. When I had William and Harry, that was the best thing that happened to me when I was a princess. They were my support system. When I was having a bad day out in the public or in my personal life, they were always there for me. I loved them, and I knew they could save me from myself. I tried so hard not to break off. I tried so hard to raise them in a different community from what I was raised in as a child. But sometimes one's life can change in a split of a second and turn either into a new beginning or a dead end. I chose a new beginning, a new life without royal duties. Life after the divorce was not what I expected it to be. I thought my life would become more calm, more peaceful, but it just got crazier. Rumors were out in the newspaper almost every day. I learned one thing about the media, and that is, the higher the media places you, the bigger the drop. I dropped. Shortly after my divorce, I started dating a new man, Mr. Quiet. At least I knew he loved me. Charity work also helped me through the ups and downs of my life. I remember meeting one woman who had lost everything, but despite of losing it all, she still had an optimistic attitude. From that day on, I tried to live every day like her. On August 31st, 1997, I was called up to heaven. Everything that day went by so fast, I hardly remember any of it. All I remember was being rushed out of the hotel in Paris and being crammed into a car because we were being swarmed by paparazzi. I remember going into a small tunnel, the Porte d'Armes, I believe. We were driving and then everything suddenly stopped, including the beats of my heart. I remember looking down upon earth shortly after my passing and seeing millions of white roses surrounding the Buckingham Palace. I remember seeing my two boys with their heads down, ready to burst into tears. I wanted to reach out to them and give them the biggest hug and tell them everything was going to be all right. I remember seeing millions of British citizens crying and praying. I cried and I cried with them. But through all the darkness I faced throughout my life, in the end of it all, found my true prince in heaven.